All right, we're good.
Welcome everyone to our final breakout session of Visions. Thank you all for joining us. We have 3 wonderful presenters today in this breakout session. We just want to remind you guys, if you could keep your audio on mute and type into the chat if you have any questions, and then at the end we'll have some time for question and answers. Just as a reminder, this session is being recorded and it'll be available in about a week after we're able to transcribe the closed captioning for that. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenters. Today we will be speaking about improving indicator 14 with Janice, Drew, and Iris. And I will turn it over to you guys.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Drew Andrews, and I'm the Assistant Director at the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities. And I'm presenting today with my 2 colleagues.
Janice Seabrooks-Blackmore. I am the Executive Director of the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities, and happy to be here. Iris, you're muted.
Do that. I'm Iris Neal. I am the program manager for community outreach, and my role is just to make sure that we are getting our information out there.
So today we're going to talk to you about improving indicator 14 with student and program outcomes. So a brief agenda of what we're going to cover today. Just briefly, for those of you who may not be familiar, I'm going to talk about State Indicator 14. Then we're going to talk about the Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program Act. Then the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities annual reporting requirements. Then we're going to talk about FCSUA, which is Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities resources, such as the website, scholarships, and grants. And then we're going to end up by talking about FPCTP student and FPCTP program information and outcomes. And so we just want you to remember that the focus is how the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities, which oversees Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs, can help you improve your district's Indicator 14 data. So Indicator 14 is the percent of youth who are no longer in secondary school. So they've exited secondary school, and that's one of the requirements to be enrolled in a Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program. They had IEPs in effect at the time that they left school and were they checked to see if they're enrolled in higher education within 1 year of leaving high school, or B, enrolled in higher education or competitively employed within 1 year of leaving high school, or C, enrolled in higher education or in some other post-secondary education or training program or competitively
Is Drew mute? I don't know if he knows he's on mute.
Have I been muted the whole time?
Not
No,
the
just-
entire time.
Just the last 30 seconds.
When you change the slide.
When I changed the slide, I apologize for that. Iris,
Janice?
Janice, I'm sorry, Janice, at this time, I'll let you talk about the Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program Act.
Oh, thank you so much. And when thinking about our legislation, I want to really emphasize that the state of Florida is the only one that has this powerful legislation behind it in supporting post-secondary programs for individuals with intellectual disabilities. The Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Act actually is celebrating its 5 years enacted, as well as 5 years in which our center has actually been in place effective July 1. We're going to look at some of the components within the legislation that actually talks about some of the parts that our legislation supports the inclusive post-secondary programs. One, it established the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities at the University of Central Florida. That's actually in the act. And so as we think about all of these components, as you get an opportunity to review the act, you'll see that not only does it establish the center, but it also established what a Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program is. And so it created the parameters. Our legislators did an excellent job on creating the parameters of the expectations of what a program is. It aligns with the Higher Education Opportunity Act that certifies programs to become comprehensive transition and post-secondary programs. So pretty much fall in lockstep with the federal legislation. In the act also, the Florida Post-Secondary Transition Comprehensive Transition Act, it also funds scholarships for each student that are participants in an approved Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program. Additionally, it provides grants in order to implement it. And so our grants for each institution, each one of our programs have applied for a grant that helps with the actual implementation of their program. So they have two pots of money, one that allows them to support students with scholarships, and then the other that in the legislation allows programs to think about further ways in which they can implement those programs because of the unique additional needs that students would need. Okay. Drew?
So we want to talk to you about what the Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program Act requires of us at the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities. And of course, with funding comes reporting. So we have an annual reporting requirement, and that is that by August 1st of each year, an eligible institution that has a Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program shall submit an annual report to the center, which at a minimum for the prior academic year addresses these following indicators. So they tell us about their efforts to recruit students, their efforts to retain students, and their retention rate, the completion rate of students enrolled in an FPCTP, and the transition success of students who complete the FPCTP as measured by employment rates and salary levels for 1 year and 5 years after completion. So after students exit, programs follow up with students to find out if they are employed and their employment rate and their salary level. To know, we're trying to find out if FPCTPs are having an impact on student outcomes after they complete a program. Along with this reporting requirement comes a reporting requirement from the center, where we report to the governor, to the House of Representatives, to the Senate, and to the Department of Education on the outcomes of all programs. We compile that into an annual report from the center also. So at the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities, we have quite a few different, we have resources and there are other resources. So one is our website. So although we're not really specifically addressing this today, I would encourage you to visit our website.
Stop the video. Every time I hear you coming in, I stop.
Oh. We have the Florida Center for Students with Unique Abilities website. And we also have the scholarships, we have the startup grants, and then you also see CTP, and that's the Comprehensive Transition and Post-Secondary Program. And once an institution of higher education establishes a Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program, one of the requirements is that they apply to become a federal CTP program. And that means that students can apply through FAFSA for financial aid. So students can receive Pell Grants, they can do work study just like other students. So that's just a great opportunity, and even more resources available to students in Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition programs. So Iris, would you like to talk to them a little bit about our website?
Let me unmute myself and get situated here. Our website is set up so that families can find it, so that it's easily navigatable. So it's www.fcsua.org, and we have information about us in there, about the program, and that is where you're going to find our annual reports and the results of students coming into the programs and succeeding in the programs. It also shares what credentials the students have. In the students and families section, we share information about where the programs are located. And then the post-secondary institution section is more information for post-secondary institutions to start at FPCTP. The K-12 section provides information for you and it will provide more as we reorganize the website. Right now it includes the college and career transition club and other resources. The community section has resources for families to find interagencies to help with supports for their child with a special need. And then the events and news section provides you with information about all of our events that are going on, our webinars that we have monthly, and our institutes that we hold twice a year, and then our contact information. So I think I kind of went through this next couple of slides, Drew, as I went through that. And we went through, okay, I see where you're going. the CTPs, we have the application on our page, and the CTP is a federal type of certification where students can actually get Pell Grants for attending a program. But they do have to be a certified comprehensive transition program by the feds and by Florida. And you can see where we provide a link for all of these institutes. Janice, you want to go on into scholarships?
The nice thing about the comprehensive transition and post-secondary program approval is that it can accompany the FPCTP scholarships that our students are awarded. Each student is awarded and eligible for who are in the FPCTPs. The CTP at the federal level allows our students to receive Pell Grants and do student work study. But each one of the students who are in our FPCTPs do get $7,000 of scholarship per year. And it's a variety of costs that programs identify in which those scholarships can cover some of the costs. Of course, with the CTP added with the Pell Grant and work study, that can complement the $7,000. We do know that several of our programs cost more than $7,000, but we can offset that by tuition and fees. As you see here, some of the things that can be covered, that's always a given, that regardless of other supports that are in place and the cost of a program, those are always paid. The books, whatever technology might be needed. Transportation has become a popular item that's included along with any fees connected with industry certification exams. We have most of our programs including mentorships and definitely work-based experiences or internships. So if there's additional fees to that, they are covered. And then when our students might travel to national or state competition, That is also included and can be covered within the scholarships. Even some students, scholarships cover their identification, student IDs at the institution. So each institution thinks about, they know that each student can receive that $7,000 scholarship as long as they maintain satisfactory academic progress. And so they divvy out where those $7,000 go. And just like you attending an institution and you earned a scholarship, then whatever money is left goes to the student. And that has been very helpful in many cases for some students, like maybe many of you who use your scholarship to support just your basic living needs. Okay. I also mentioned earlier that there were grants available for programs, for our approved FPCTPs to actually implement their programs. And so programs can write a proposal for up to $300,000 per year, up to $900,000 max, to start or develop a program. Or they may already have a program in place and they want to enhance or expand the services provided or the implementation of that program. And so no matter the level, they can definitely apply for this type of support, and each one of our institutions have done that. When we think about technical colleges, now that's something that for you, for a lot of you who are on from school districts, they get the benefit of every technical college in any district gets the benefit of applying to be an approved program. So it's kind of different for state colleges and universities. They only get to do one. If it's a state college or university and they're different places, they only get to expand in one place, whereas a technical college each technical college in a district can apply. So keep that in mind. And when we think about our grants, they cover a variety of things as institutions think about implementation. They might look at the staff. Who do we need in order to actually run this program? Several of our programs have program directors. Some of them call it program coordinators. They include job coaches and a number of other support personnel. Every one of our programs think about what additional curriculum might be needed in and above beyond what a typical student might need at an institution. So they look at curriculum materials and resources that would maybe be unique to our students in how they might be served so that the implementation can be satisfactory. Special program materials, technology. And when you think about equipment that staff might need, they may need some additional laptops or computers, or depending on the type of travel and support the job coaches need or the instructors, depending on the places and the locations of the work-based experiences, what they need, they think about that. All of our programs must attend our institutes. We have 2 a year. And so any FCSUA sponsored events they attend, but they also present other places, like some may present at Visions. And when we get back to our actual travel ban being lifted, they may present nationally or get some other professional development resources under their belt. Other areas, we have a category where it's just kind of open. What is it that they really need to do? So those are areas when you think about scholarships and grants that our institutions may use those monies for. Iris?
So this is important because this is actually where it's looking at your indicator 14. Students who have graduated from the K-12 system who have an intellectual disability may attend, are eligible to attend one of the FPCTPs. The programs can be at public or not-for-profit accredited universities, state and community colleges, career and technical centers or technical colleges, and it can be private too. We do have one private college, Southeastern University in Lakeland is one of our programs. what's important is each institute decides on the number of students that they will have in their program. So this can range from 10 to over 330,000 if that's whatever the institute wants to have in their program. Typically, right now, each program has quite a few students. At FAU, there are over 30 students in their program, whereas some of the newer programs are starting off with 10 to 12 students. The focus of the program, oh, excuse me, this is Drew.
Okay. So the programs themselves must focus on employment outcomes. And so students that leave the school system in the following year will be found in post-secondary education and an FLDCDT. But for all of us in transition, our ultimate goal is for students to have a quality of life, and that usually includes employment. So employment is a focused outcome of every FLDCDT. It also must be inclusive, and students must be included with other students on the post-secondary campus and program. So it's not like, as many of us in special ed know, it's not a self-contained program on a campus, just having a college experience. It is an inclusive context program. Students must be enrolled no less than half-time of what full-time is considered. So at most state colleges and state universities, that's 12 hours. So students must be enrolled for at least 6 hours. It requires that a definition of satisfactory academic progress must be developed for the program, because as you think about this, students are no longer entitled as they were with IDEA, but they are eligible as we were to be enrolled in a post-secondary program, and they must make satisfactory academic progress to continue enrollment in that program. And then the other requirement, as we've mentioned earlier, is that federal comprehensive transition post-secondary program application, so that students can also complete the FAFSA and can receive student financial aid. So some of the credentials offered range from institution to institution. Every FLDCDT is different, and the credentials that they offer are oftentimes different, sometimes the same, but oftentimes different. Some are specialized, such as those offered at Florida Atlantic University. Others provide a pathway, such as the College of the Florida Keys. Others have specific programs, such as Orange Technical College, where they have an electrical helper and a welding helper. And others are the same as available to any other student. So it depends on the strength of the institution on how they create their form. As long as we are within the parameters of the legislation, there are several different frameworks that programs can be developed within. So here are some of the different credentials that are offered. For instance, at the College of the Florida Keys, which is Project Access, they offer a Workforce Ready certificate. They also offer a Customer Service certificate. Others offer a Gold Service, a Guest Services Gold Professional certification, Commercial Foods and Culinary Arts Management, Chef's Apprentice, Baking and Pastry Arts, the Serve Safe Food Handler, the Safe Serve Food Handler, the First Aid CPR certification, statewide child care certification, and the Red Carpet customer certification. I'm not going to read every single one of these because you'll have this PowerPoint available to you, but Fundamentals of Professional Diving, another program that's offered in the Keys, 3D animation, commercial arts technology. Some of the programs are focused on their graphic design program, healthcare, in their healthcare program, agri-science in their agriculture program, welding in their welding program, electrician helper in their electrical program, and hospitality in their hospitality program. So depending on what the program's strength is usually where the FPCTP is started. And here are just a few more, including automotive services, refrigeration, healthcare worker, nurse aide and orderly, private security guard. So there's lots of different options for students so that students can choose a program that aligns with their strengths and interest.
Our programs are located all over Florida. So, and we're looking to grow more. For our universities, we have FAU, the Academy for Community Inclusion, on the Jupiter and the Boca Raton campuses. We have a program in Fort Myers at Florida Gulf Coast, FIU in Miami, UCF in Orlando, and a new program starting at USF in St. Petersburg, and as mentioned previously, at SEU in Lakeland. For our programs at the state colleges, we have a few more. At Broward College, they are starting quite a few programs on their different campuses in Fort Lauderdale, Coconut Creek, and in the Pembroke Pine campuses. Key West, the College of the Florida Keys has an established program in Key West, but they are also establishing a program this year up in the Upper Keys and Key Largo. Indian River State College has established their program in Fort Pierce and is expanding to Vero Beach. One of their goals is to continue to have more programs on all of their campuses throughout their tri-county area. St. Petersburg College in St. Petersburg, Santa Fe College in Gainesville, and in Tallahassee, TCC. So for our technical colleges and technical schools, we have programs in Cape Coral and in Fort Myers at the Lee County Technical Colleges, at Cape Coral Technical and Fort Myers Technical. Lively Technical College is starting students this year. Max Batter in Fort Lauderdale and Sheridan in Hollywood are part of Broward County's technical programs, and they both have separate FPCTPs there. In Miami, Robert Morgan has a program. In Orange County or Winter Garden, we have the Orange Technical College at the West Side has a program. And then we have a new program starting in the Panhandle in Fort Walton Beach at Okaloosa Technical College. So we have some new programs that are going to begin, and they are developing. These are exciting because we're trying to reach 30 programs this year. We have Emerald Coast Technical, North Florida Technical, River Oak Technical, the University of Florida, yay! And I believe that's the Jacksonville campus, right? Okay, and the University of North Florida. So we've got some exciting expansions going on this year.
Actually, the University of Florida application that's in progress is actually in Gainesville. So we did have some couple of the interests, but it's coming out of Gainesville. And you are right, Iris, we are extremely excited. And so you have some information about our legislation. You understand the credentials that our students can, that are being offered to our students, and you know the locations. And so since 2016, all of our programs, as Drew mentioned earlier, had to report annual data. They have to report information about their program and information about their students. So the student information that we gain is about our completers. So we started off, of course, if we began in 2016, 17, you can imagine our numbers were low because we just got started. But as each year continues, our numbers grow. And this, I think, depicts a pretty good picture of where we're headed. We lose very few of our students in the program. And of course, last year, 2020, we had several students to step out for a minute due to COVID-19 pandemic. So we are looking forward to see what our completion rates are this year, simply because of that impact, although our programs had tenacity and kept on rolling. But we are up to 107 completers as of last year's annual report, and we know that our numbers will continue to rise. I want to share a little bit about the completers next. We have them completer number one. That's not saying there's one completer. That's just follow-up data on our completers. That's the first completer from Project Access at that time, kind of giving us an idea of where that person is, their status position, whether or not they earned an industry certification when they left. And as we do follow up on each one of our completers for 5 years, we learn about the stability and the impact that the programs have had. You have in your handout all of the listing, and we'll just scroll through some of them, but you can see each one of our institutions have reported where they are. Some of the programs do have industry certifications when they complete, some do not, but our wages range. And we follow up with our students, again, for 5 years to kind of tell us about that. And so we're pretty impressed with the different areas, even during COVID, for some of our students, that they earned employment and then stepped out and came back in. So like I said, we're excited to see where they are. Drew mentioned several of those credentials earlier. And so while mentioning those credentials, you can see the evidence of it with our students from each one of those institutions. And we'll have more as we go further. We'll look at what their hourly wages are, and we and our programs are committed to following up. And with even some of our programs, they follow up and provide additional support, even though they have completed, similar to institutions and districts, follow up a year or two after to provide additional supports to make sure that those students are maintaining their employment in the areas in which they completed the program. Drew?
So for Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs, K-12 is our strongest partner. You're where students come from who enroll in Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs, and you are the folks that share with kids and students who are leaving and exiting the possibility of going on to post-secondary education. And as we work together, this is going to benefit you with your indicator 14 data, but it's also going to help us because we're going to have more students interested in post-secondary education. So you help by preparing students to access and succeed in post-secondary education. You also develop meaningful summaries of performance with students. And students really need that summary of performance so that whenever they go to post-secondary education, they have information on their interests, on their strengths, on accommodations that worked for them, on things that they've completed up to that point of exiting the K-12 system, so that folks in the post-secondary world know exactly where that student is and where they're ready to begin. You also help by create and provide choices for post-secondary education, because we know that all of our tech colleges are associated with school districts here in the state of Florida. And so we would love to have you talk to the folks at your technical college, share with them this wonderful information, share how it will help your district and your district's indicator 14 data, but more importantly, how it will change students' lives. So to help with all of this, and you may have, if you've been in one of our previous sessions, you've probably heard us mention implementing a college and career transition club. If you haven't, very quickly, the purpose of a college and career transition club is to increase awareness of Florida post-secondary comprehensive transition program opportunities and to help students with intellectual disabilities prepare for and access those opportunities across Florida. And so we're partnering with secondary schools, but it's not just students with intellectual disabilities, it's students with other disabilities as well as students without disabilities. We want this to be an inclusive club so that students have an inclusive experience, and we know that transition is something that's good for all students. So the same things that are the student learning outcomes for the students with intellectual disabilities are the same student learning outcomes for students without disabilities. And there are lots of opportunities for you that we've shared today. We've talked about the application for approval as an FPCTP. So if you'd like to know more about that, you can visit our website and go under the menu for post-secondary institutions, and you'll find information on our application to become an FPCTP. You'll find information about the startup and enhancement grants that are available. You can find out more information about the student scholarships that are available to students who attend approved Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition programs. And also you can find out more about our college and career transition club resources that are available. And those applications will be available very soon on our website. From April through August, they're going to be available, and you can find that on our website or by simply reaching out to us at the contact information, through the contact information that's on the last slide of this presentation. Because we want to make the dreams a reality. We want to empower students and families so that more students can access and attend post-secondary programs and receive those beneficial skills that are going to help them with achieving better employment outcomes. We want to create and provide choices for post-secondary education for students throughout this state. There are 120 eligible institutions that are eligible to create a Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Program. Currently, we have 19 programs in the state. So there are many, many more programs, many more institutions eligible to create a program. We want to offer a range of opportunities so that students' interest can align with the program they choose. So the FPCTPs will become the routine and not the exception. So we want to take a little time now to ask if you have questions about the information that we have shared today on how Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs can help improve your Indicator 14 data. And I'm unable to see the chat box, so if someone can read the chat box, if there are any questions in the chat window.
Thank you guys so much. Let's see. I don't see any questions yet, but now would be a great time if any of you have questions.
Do we have to type it or can we just ask it?
You can
Oh,
ask.
you can just ask.
Okay, I have two questions.
Okay.
And I'm Ruby, Hillsborough County.
Hi, Ruby.
Hi. Could you repeat what IHE stands for?
Oh, an institution of higher education. That could be a university,
Okay.
a state college, or a technical college.
Okay. So like a private individual couldn't start one, it'd have to be at one of the
Correct.
institutes.
Correct.
Okay.
The
And then
legislation is very clear that, and if it is a private institution, it has to be SACS approved, not for profit, and eligible for the Florida Residence Assistant Grant. So, and there's a large number of those in, in Florida, and I'm sure in Hillsborough County specifically.
And then my second question was, when you were talking about the money for the students to attend college and being able to apply for FAFSA and also your help, what
Yes.
about clients of Voc Rehab? Do they help pay for stuff as well?
Thank you. That's a very good question. Yes, there are students that are enrolled in Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition programs, and they're receiving assistance from VR. So when you think about that, you have students that are receiving assistance from VR, and they're receiving our $7,000 a year scholarship. And if the program is an approved comprehensive transition and post-secondary program, the federal CTP, they could be receiving federal dollars also through student financial aid. So think about
Awesome.
all of those resources for our students. I mean, it's wonderful.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And Ruby, think about, like I said earlier, that some of the programs, some of our institutions have a housing component. And then if you
Wow.
think about Southeastern costing a lot more than other programs, the 7,000 doesn't go really far. But many of our programs also have other funds other than VR and the CTP, Pell Grant and Work Study. They may raise funds themselves to also support students. So depending on each institution, and particularly those that have the housing component, they also seek other ways to offset a lot of that cost for families and students.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
I'm actually right now working with Dr. Monica Vera Tirado to schedule a meeting to discuss Florida Post-Secondary Comprehensive Transition Programs at the technical colleges there in Hillsborough County, which I think are Brewster, Irwin, and I'm not sure that I can say the other one.
Aparicio Levy
Aparicio Levy. Thank
or
you.
Levy,
Aparicio.
however you want to say it. That's awesome because we have those. We had 4 and now 3, but there's like 26 programs at
Yes.
Irwin. So
Yeah.
yeah, that would be awesome. We could really use that in our county. I'm glad to hear that there's
So,
some talk about that.
so if you know anyone there, please, share information about the benefit.
I do know a couple people there, so I'm
Wonderful.
going to.
Wonderful. That's great. Good talking with you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I do have a couple of other slides. One is our contact information because we'd like for you to follow us. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also have our website at fcsua.org and our email at fcsua@ucf.edu. Or if you'd like to call, we certainly have a number that you can reach us at. And I also want to share a couple of resources that are really going to be great resources for you in the K-12 system. Oh, and Iris, if you'd like to share about these.
So the first is our college showcase, and I believe information went out about this in January, but we do have the videos on our website. Each of the programs have recorded a video of what they offer, and a lot of them have student testimonials in them. They are fabulous, short, but most are short. Some are a little bit longer, but they do provide details about the programs. This is an excellent thing to share with families while they're waiting for their IEP meetings or transition meetings. The other thing that is there is some guides that we've created to help families make the decision as they are going through looking for a program. The other is our graduate panel, and this was a discussion at one of our institutes. These students have graduated from the FPCTPs and talk about their experiences and why it's so important for students to have this opportunity. It's wonderful testimonials from these students. We do have a toolkit coming soon, and you can look at the toolkit description on the YouTube video link that's there. This is going to be a springboard for students and families. It's called Family to Family, and it has video vignettes of parents talking about their situation and inspiring parents to give it a try and what they need to do. It is a catalyst to begin that discussion of post-secondary opportunities after high school. So our contact information is here. You can find all of this information on our website. You can email us, and then Drew and Janice's email is there for for getting information about the center and the different programs.
We
So
want to
please
thank
like
you.
us on
I'm
like
sorry.
us on Facebook and visit us on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram.
And I'd just like to remind everyone that their website information is on EventMobi, and there is a link to the documents as well. And just a final reminder to also fill out the evaluation that's at the end of that same page where you found the link for this meeting and all of their information.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you have any questions, please reach out. We're always happy to answer questions.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Thank you guys so much for presenting.
All right. Bye-bye.